I'm Jess.
And I'm Taryn.
And this is the Extra Lucky Podcast. Inspiring change,
Shifting narratives,
cultivating joy.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
We're good. We're so excited.
Yes, me too.
So we're basically ready to start unless you have any questions.
Yeah, that's cool. No, real quick though, I just wanted to share something in relation to the guide and everything.
Yeah.
I have a meeting with Summer Infant on Tuesday. So I'm gonna broach it with them too.
Awesome.
If you guys can send me like the final version of the deck,
Yep.
and that way I can bring it up with them. So
Yes. Yeah. I'll send it
some lipstick. I look dead.
that's what I was like, is this gonna be a podcast where you're like filming the video also?
Yeah.
Like, how cute do I need to?
I want to look dead. Mama needs a little pop of color.
Yeah, she's getting some lipstick, and then we'll start.
Cool.
Yeah, that's real. I'll send you the. I'll send it to you after we get off. How are you feeling, by the way? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm pretty much better. I mean, I'm still not like 100% there, but you just got to kind of power through. And my parents have it now, so it's like it's just I don't know. It's one thing after another. So now we're trying to avoid them again, so we don't keep like passing it back and forth to each other.
You want a ring light on your computer?
I don't.
Where's the lighting? Okay.
I think the lighting's good.
Andy, I have a ring light, Andy.
Are we good on lighting, Andy?
So I can clip a light.
Okay, we're good.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I thought
it's
so.
like natural.
Yeah.
What is this? Do you see those lights? I'm being so perfectionist. I need to chill out.
We're good.
So this is just me being ADHD and type A. Okay, sorry.
Y'all look way better than some of the podcasts I've done. So
Do you like our little sign?
yeah, so cute.
Oh shit!
I should put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Hold on.
Put it on silent so it won't buzz.
Well, I'm going to do the Do Not Disturb.
Hey.
Okay, so welcome to the Extra Lucky Podcast. We are sitting down today with Allison Jandu, who is the founder and owner of the Potty Training Consultant. She's a parent just like you all. When it came time to potty training her oldest child, she was quickly overwhelmed by all of the conflicting information available online and was missing the support and guidance she was after. She didn't think it seemed fair for parents to have to guess their way through potty training. Toddlerhood is challenging enough.
Mm-hmm.
So after almost 2 years of research, which is ongoing all the time, she created Potty Training Consultant, where she has helped thousands of families potty train. She does not just provide a place to get that one-to-one expert support, but a community where moms can come together without judgment, ask the hard questions, and get evidence-based facts that drive potty training success. So thank you, Allison, for being here today.
Sure. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
We're so happy to have you.
So
Yes.
we, in our community, potty training is even more of a challenge. It's an extra challenge. So that is how, you and Jess connected. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about how you both connected.
Yeah. Allison and I think we started following each other because your manager or assistant or brand manager, however you want to call Megan, your left hand.
Pretty much, yep.
Was a follower of mine on TikTok, right? And that's how you and I connected on also both platforms and on Instagram.
Uh-huh.
And you were so generous and did a beautiful giveaway for our community last year. And then you had reached out to me.
And a whole takeover. I remember that was like, everyone was like messaging, like, oh my gosh.
It was incredible. You did 3 different blog posts, correct?
Yep, I think so.
Disability potty training, which was extremely topical for you and I, and super valuable. And then this past December, you reached out and you said, hey, let's do something together. I'd love to consult with you and Addie. And instead of just doing that, we have a lot of things that we're working on, which I'm sure we'll share at the end. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm so excited to have you, not only as an extra lucky friend and advocate, but as such an expert in your field. So thank you for coming on today.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so happy we were able to connect and like the stars just aligned for us to be able to meet and work together. And helping families with disabilities is near and dear to my heart because my own daughter has type 1 diabetes. So any way that I can help and, provide support for those extra lucky families is just like so meaningful to me. So I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen.
Yes.
And, it's so funny because there's moms who like figure things out and just then move on. And then there's moms who figure things out and then decide to create a successful business out of it.
Yeah, that's kind of true, right?
So I know the bio that we shared briefly talked about it, but really what motivated you to get this community going? Share with us your whole experience.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of to answer everybody's question, no, I didn't come out of school saying, I want to be a potty training consultant when I grow up. Never in a million years did I think like my days would be spent talking about pee and poop all day long. But here we are, and it's been amazing.
Yeah.
But no, all jokes aside, I'm a mom too, so my son is 2 years older. I potty trained him, and it was total smooth sailing. Like, it was a great experience. I just loved the whole process because it was really exciting and rewarding to see like how he was really learning this new thing and giving him more independence and just seeing the gears turn and everything. It was just like such a cool experience to go through. And I was like, why does everybody complain about potty training? Like, this is great, And and then that's when karma came to meet me because my daughter, who's about 2 years younger, she was kind of the exact opposite, and she had a lot of struggles with like early onset constipation, and pooping was just a real challenge for her. And it was just a process, and that was when I really found myself like having to reach out to people and, friends who unfortunately none of mine had ever experienced something like that. So I couldn't get any insight there, just scouring Google, and so much mismatched information, so much like stuff that just it didn't even agree with one another. Like, one opinion would be one thing and the next would be something completely opposite. So I was just like, why isn't there a resource where I can, go and actually get something that I know is going to work, that's been backed by research or science or something to, to help me? Because I know that I can't be the only one struggling with this. And once I started diving into it a bit more, and I was having to like read research papers and stuff to like, and publications to start finding little solutions and insight to the problem that Layla was having. And I was like, you know what? Parents out there shouldn't have to go through all of this. Like, there's help in so many other areas of parenting. Like, you have lactation support in the hospital, you have speech therapists, you have nutrition experts, you have sleep consultants. Like, why isn't potty training a thing, So I just kind of recognized the need and decided to run with it. And I'm just a very science-minded person in general, so I wanted to make sure that the content that I was composing matched with what scientific findings have shown. And not just like based on what my experience was in potty training my own child, but based on science, based on experience, based on, a larger group of people and statistical factors. So I took all of that evidence, have, started researching when my daughter was very young. And
what year was that?
Gosh, I started doing the research probably in 2017, and then started the business in late 2018. So,
and were you working at that time, or were you home with the kiddos, or?
I was working actually. So, I worked at a company called National Testing Services for 15 years. And so I was in a laboratory setting, and the company basically did testing for like electronics testing for NASA, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, like satellites going into space and drones and like all that kind of stuff. So like really cool stuff. And
very different than potty training.
Very different than potty training.
But
yes.
I can see your connection to the data, the science, like why
Exactly. Yeah. So my key job there was helping to kind of come up with testing plans for companies to figure out how to test, like what testing they needed for their components or products to, find the results that they were looking for. So that kind of is similar to what I do now with potty training, in that I work with families to come up with a plan based on where they are to get the results that they want. So it's cool looking back of how it all happened. But yeah, so I was working at that time. I had switched to part-time because after my daughter was born. And it was, it was a lot trying to balance the potty training stuff and the job and parenthood. So at some point I just talked to my husband and I was like, I really want to go all in with this. And I really think that there's a lot of potential here to be able to like reach a lot of people and help a lot of people. And we took a leap of faith, and
okay, or what's let's go.
He's amazing. I mean, he's always very much like, I'll support you no matter what. And, if you think this is good, then let's do it. And so it was rough going for a little while things were like getting up and running, but it's been so well received by so many people. And it's just been such an amazing like journey growing from starting at helping like one family a month to now we're like 8,000 strong. So it's really, really, really cool. Yeah.
Well, I love you so much because what your content I think does differently is you lead with motherhood first.
Yeah.
And caregiving first. You're not shoving facts, data. You obviously have that support with all of your content, but you lead with empathy and love, and I think you normalize the potty training journey as not being linear. It might be a circle. It might be like this, up and down. And for us, it's been a challenge, and we've been working together, and we're getting started this weekend. I'm really going in, but I loved when we first spoke, you just held space for me and said, it's okay. Not everyone potty trains in 2 days.
Right.
Not everybody has an easy go. And that's what I was worried about, because my firstborn, Charlie, was like, just like yours. It was easy. And I have a very different experience with Addie, but I love how you really lead with empathy and support and caregiving as your primary focus, and you really connect with the followers and the community.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot to me, because we all need love and we all need support, and we all need to hear that it's okay and you're doing a good job and you're doing the best you can do, and you are the best parent for your child. And just being able to recognize, like, look, I know it's not easy, and I never go in promising people that it's going to be a walk in the park or a miracle cure. I keep it real, but if you have a support system behind you and somebody that believes in you and somebody that you can reach out to, I feel like that makes all the difference in the world, especially when you're going through something that can be so stressful and challenging and emotionally draining, like potty training can be.
Yeah, and especially with, I have 4 kids, as you know, and each one of them potty trained completely differently. Like my oldest was one of those kids that, that age old, like, when they're ready, they're ready. Like when she was ready, she was ready. Anytime I tried anything before that, she was not ready, and she let me know that,
Right,
and my next one, like, did it herself, basically. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, it's amazing. Right? Yeah. But like, it's amazing that she's just 2, like literally turned 2 and potty trained. And we're like patting me on the back, and I'm like, I have no part of that. Nothing.
It wasn't me, I swear.
It wasn't me. And my third, she was 2 right around when COVID happened. So I was like, oh, this is fine. We're going to be home. She'll potty train in a couple days. We're not going anywhere. And she was a tough one too. And she was the one that I had to like do the timer and all, she didn't care about rewards. So it was like timer, and, that regimen. So, and I've tried, like I dabbled in trying for Raya yet and haven't I know it's me, not her.
It's so close though.
I think like that's part of it, you probably normalize that as like, it's both, everybody has to be ready, not just the kid,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so important. And that's one of the key things, especially when you have a child with a disability, when you might have, multiple team members essentially helping with the care of your child as far as therapists, teachers, doctors, and everybody kind of needs to be on the same page so that you can bring that consistency and, the child doesn't get confused and all that kind of stuff. And it just adds another layer of possible complication and just other things you have to think about. That maybe other families don't have to think of. Yeah, exactly. It's so many pieces. And so that's why it really helps to not necessarily rush into it. Like, just because you have a free weekend doesn't mean, oh, you know what? Let's try potty training and see how it goes.
Right.
You're not really setting yourself up for the best experience necessarily. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely happens. But it's kind of better if you take some time, like we talked about a lot, Jess, is like getting in the right mindset before you start so that you are sure that the timing is right, that, you can fully commit to this. And, like our kids are looking to us for that guidance. So making sure that we can be that foundation for them first is really important, even if that takes some time to build up to first, I feel like.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, because you and I have been working together, we got on a Zoom call. What is your typical offering for a one-to-one? Is it exactly how you and I have worked together? Or do you kind of break down your offerings per family? Do you have different tiers of offering and like pricing and that kind of thing? Or break down your business. And then I also want to hear about the book that you wrote, but I'm sorry, I get so excited.
No.
But I think it'd be great for you to share with our audience what your offerings actually are and what this consultancy looks like for families.
Yeah, sure. So, as I always preach, there's no one size fits all approach necessarily to tackle potty training or to tackle a specific problem that you might be having with potty training. So we do have different options, as far as like our services go. So we have like our online courses, which are basically all self-guided, and then we have a support group now that parents can join. So if you, if you have bought a course, for example, and you just have like a few questions that you want to get answered, there's a monthly subscription for our support group that you can join, and you can jump in there, post your questions.
Awesome.
Join
that.
And is that mostly people going through, like currently going through the process, or do you have people in there who have like, finished and all of that?
So usually it's just people that are going through it, and then we hope that you're able to cancel your subscription so you don't need it anymore. That's the goal, right? So it's mostly people who are living and breathing it right now and are in there posting questions, sharing successes. It's a really great space. So you are kind of surrounding yourself with people who are going through the same thing as you in that moment. I feel like that kind of helps sometimes. But if you have, if you're have more of a unique need, kind of like just, you and Addie is a good example, and you feel like you really need that more ongoing support kind of process, then we offer our custom consultation packages, which are, like it says, fully customized. We take a lot of time to learn about the background of the situation, of your child, of your family, all these different variables that, you probably don't even think have anything to do with potty training necessarily, but we take all of those things into account and create kind of a customized, handcrafted plan for your family specifically, and then provide ongoing support along the way at different frequencies or for different lengths of time, depending on, how much time is needed. And that's probably our most common package, and people really value having that support as they're going through the process.
I value it.
Yeah, I feel like it makes a big difference, like it almost is guaranteeing that you see it through and that you finally meet your goals because you have an expert by your side the whole way.
And are you the expert that they partner with, or do you have a team of experts?
So you can request to work with me specifically if you wanted to, or we do have other certified consultants who have completed my certification program throughout the United States, and we have one in Europe and one in Australia. So we have some people. Yeah, so if you're in a different part of the world, then we can connect you with one of our experts there as well. And sometimes it just helps for communication, as far as being able to reach out to somebody in your time zone or whatever. But yeah, so it could go either way. And then we also, for more like just kind of spot treating, troubleshooting kind of stuff, we have like our phone consultations too. So you can be connected with one of our staff experts to get some questions answered on like a 30-minute call.
Awesome. I have to, maybe I'll share a little bit about my experience with you, because I think it's just been so valuable and I didn't know what I was getting into. Yeah. All I knew was that I was terrified of potty training. Yes. And I didn't even, I really did not think that my kiddo, I don't know why, but I just had this like fear that it was never going to happen, that she's never going to be potty trained. And if I'm being really honest and vulnerable, it's probably the hardest thing about being a disability parent. Yeah. For me, I take all the other stuff in stride, like, delayed fine motor, delayed speech, like, extra appointments, medical, everything. Like, that's easy for me. I can manage that. I can control that. Yeah. Because not that I can control her progress, but I can control how I feel about it and just like be present in it. But with the potty training thing, it's something that she has to control. Yeah. That it gave me such anxiety to even go there in my head. And I have to say that it sucks changing big diapers that are filled with a lot of poop soup. She's almost 4. It's like, this is like real, like young adult poops and young adult peepees. Yeah. Thank you, Huggies, for having really strong adhesive.
Like, for real. It's like a barrier to a certain level of freedom in parenthood, where you can just go anywhere.
They're convenient.
Exactly.
And I remember when Charlie was potty trained, we hadn't had Adeline yet. And I'll never forget, we went to a restaurant and I didn't bring a diaper bag. And I was like, babe, this is awesome. Yeah. He was like, I know, this is so cool. Yeah. And then we had a baby. So But I think what you were so incredible at was, when we hopped on a call, was say, like, just holding space for that fear. Like, that's what you started. And it just really relaxed me, and it was able to really listen. And you gave me such beautiful feedback. You gave me case study examples. You worked with individuals with Down syndrome and other disabilities, and they've been successfully potty trained. And you walked me through understanding her as a human and like what works for her. And, we found out together, and I shared with you that Addie loves a good routine. She loves a routine. Mm-hmm. She loves to be celebrated, and she loves chocolate, and she loves Disney characters. And so we've integrated all of these things into getting her ready to potty train. And we're going to go up for it on Saturday. So maybe we'll have to do an episode 2.
Follow up.
Well, said and done. But I really enjoyed our partnership, and it's been really wonderful.
What would, I think one of the things that our community really struggles with is delayed speech, or, kids who are nonverbal, or kids who use like approximation speech, and maybe not everybody understands them. And my daughter falls into like the latter category, where she talks a lot. I understand every word she says usually.
Speak Rhea.
But I speak Rhea. But not everybody does. Right. So what are some of your tips for, first of all, having your child be able to communicate to you in various ways that they have to go to the bathroom, and also like communicating that to care teams?
Yeah, sure. So, and that's a huge one, right? That we see a lot is the speech delay, communication delay, expressive, receptive language delays, all those kinds of things actually play a lot into potty training. And we typically do find that children who have a speech or language delay take a little bit longer to potty train, or at least to get to that full independence of self-initiation and all that kind of stuff. With potty training, which kind of makes sense, if you think about it, because they are probably learning some of their speech and language skills at the same time they're learning their potty skills, and then they have to put them all together at the end, and it's like this whole complicated process. So my biggest tip probably is to resort to visuals whenever you can. So visual task cards, flashcards, sign language if you need to. You can teach the simple sign for potty. Yep. Poop. Yep, exactly. Yeah, so you can teach them some of those things so that they have the tools, and then that can be consistent every time, no matter who they're communicating with, and you don't necessarily have to rely on words per se, because even nonverbal children are perfectly capable of potty training. Right. It's just a matter of giving them tools that work for them to be able to communicate their needs to you. So things like I was saying, like using flashcards. We've had families who will say, okay, print out this picture of a potty and put it in each room of the house. And that way, when they feel the need to use the potty, they can go tap the picture. And so it's just giving them.
Try that. That's great.
Yeah, it's just giving them, and it's kind of making it a little bit fun, right? Like it's like a game, like go tag the picture. And that's a great way for them to start building that self-initiation process up until saying the words, I have to go potty, or just taking themselves to the potty. And then going through, breaking it down into steps, I feel like also helps a lot instead of just making them do the whole process all at one time. So breaking it down into, walking to the bathroom, pushing down their pants, sitting on the toilet, emptying their pee and poop into the toilet, wiping, flushing, redressing. There's so many steps that go into potty training that it can be overwhelming for some kids, especially when it's a lot of vocabulary coming at them and they aren't able to process all the words or remember all the words. So there are also task schedules that you can get off of like Etsy or whatever and print them out, and it outlines each step of the potty. So you can like laminate that and put it in the bathroom so that they can see what comes next. And it helps them to kind of learn the entire process start to finish. And so I would say using a lot of those visuals is probably the best thing to facilitate them when they need a little extra support with the communication aspect.
Love those ideas. Well, it's interesting. We have a mom in our community, our dear friend Meg, whose daughter has Down syndrome, and she's the same age as our kiddos. And, she has had issues with elopement and speech and communication. She's amazing and thriving and doing so well. And she's one of the first kids to potty train. Yeah. And if I'm being honest, I know Meg probably said the same thing. She probably thought that she'd be the last one of our friend group to potty train. So that just goes to show you that it does, I think that there's this assumption, obviously, and the stigma around kids with disabilities that they're not able or capable. And she literally potty trained on time, within a neurotypical age range. Right. So I think it's really valuable that we're sharing these perspectives, because maybe some parents are like, oh wait, maybe my kid will be able, maybe I should be more confident and try, or I'll go to, Allison's page and learn some tools and maybe try to do this,
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like knowledge and education, and ignorance can be bliss, and it also can be like safety.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
I don't want to know things, so that I'm not ready to learn about it, Right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And our kids are, most of the time, they're capable of way more than we give them credit for. So it's just about believing in them and having that confidence, and in yourself too, because, ultimately you're their potty teacher, their potty coach. So it's like, if you have confidence and you're feeling good about things, and you're not feeling anxious or stressed or scared about it, then they're more likely to feel confident and, less likely to feel anxious or scared about it. So as long as you are, setting the stage for how the experience is going to be, they're most likely kind of follow in your footsteps. So that is kind of important to remember.
How do you keep, a parent motivated when, they've been doing
when times are tough?
When they've been doing all the things and they've been trying and they're really feeling frustrated, because you're right. You're absolutely right that it's the mindset of the parent that will set the stage for the journey. Not that we need any more pressure on ourselves, but
exactly. Sorry.
It is the truth. If we're trying something that we're thinking is not going to work, it's probably not going to work, right? Mm-hmm. So, how do you keep somebody motivated?
Yeah. So it's all about having realistic expectations, I think, from the start. Like, you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself to be like, okay, we're going to get this started. And then within 2 weeks, I want her peeing in the potty consistently every time. Like, hold on. We can't, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how it's going to go until we get started. So the best thing you can do is to just put one foot in front of the other and just focus on that next step. Don't look all the way down at the end of the hallway yet, let's just focus on one small thing at a time. And I'm a big believer in trying to find the positives in any situation so that you focus on those instead of dwelling on, oh my gosh, she had 3 accidents today, but she used the potty 4 times. Let's focus on that aspect of things instead of the negative part of it, because measuring the progress necessarily isn't about the number of accidents that they have. It's about seeing those little glimmers of things are starting to be put together a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, I try to talk my parents into focusing on those things, and it is kind of just a mindset shift, because I feel like it's human nature to, compare your self-value to your failures and or the bad aspects of things, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be about finding any little glimmer of a win that you possibly can, and that will keep you motivated to keep going on the next day and find something else. So that's usually the pep talk that I find myself giving quite a bit. But and it's hard to it's hard to change that way of thinking, but if you have somebody that you can lean on for support and that keeps bringing it up and keeps bringing wine over at the end of the day.
That's why I have a chair in here.
Exactly.
And vice versa. Let me ask you this, because one thing that I really enjoyed about our first call was you talking about this shame around talking about potty, talking about poop. I bought your book. It's such an awesome book, and I've been reading it to Adeline. And obviously there's some concepts she doesn't understand, but
the name of the book.
Well, you tell us what the name of the book is, and where can we find it?
Well, I have one.
Show us, By the way, is my stomach? You hear my stomach?
Okay.
If you hear my stomach growling, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've got like a tickle in my throat and everything. We're falling apart here.
I know, right?
So this is my book. This is How Do You Poo? And then I also have a second one, and I'm out of copies of that, which doesn't look very good for me as an author, but it's called...
No, it's good. You're sold out, girl.
Yeah, it's the other one is called Let's Go to the Potty. So that's more of the overall concept of potty training. And that would be the one I would recommend starting with. And then I wrote How Do You Poo? For kids who might be struggling with pooping on the potty specifically, and that can kind of help them overcome some of those hurdles, because to come back to your point, Jess, about what we talked about, as far as unintentionally creating this kind of shame and embarrassment about potty topics, or talking about poop as it's so stinky and dirty and messy, and you don't want to sit in a poopy diaper all day. Like, let's change you. Ew, that's gross. And we mean it completely innocently, right? But sometimes kids will start to internalize those little negative words, and that's when the intense privacy needs come about, and the embarrassment and the shame, and they want to hide, and they don't want to tell you when they poop, or they don't want to get their diaper changed when they poop. So even just kind of shifting your language to reference poop as a healthy thing and a positive thing that can ultimately shift the way that your whole potty training experience ends up going. And they actually did a research study on that as well, to show that parents who spoke in positive terms about poop and pooping from an earlier age shortened their overall potty training experience. So who doesn't want that,
I know, right? Well, after you shared that with me, I've really changed my language, because I used to say, "Oh, are you stinky?" And now I'll say, "Oh, you pooped. Great. Maybe next time we can go on the potty." And then I'll before I change her, I'll say, "Please, next time, please." I'm so tired of it. Just say positive. Toxic positivity over here. No, I think it's so important. And I also keep the doors open now. I used to it's interesting though, because I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and Charlie is starting to recognize the need for privacy.
Yeah.
However, I think peer modeling is really important for Adeline.
Yeah.
So I sat Charlie down and I said to her, we're going to start having Adeline use the potty. We're actually going to start this weekend. How would you feel about letting Adeline come into the bathroom with you and just watching you go to the bathroom? And then I explained, like, we don't want to ever let anybody but our family do that unless you're comfortable, obviously trying to make it for a 6-year-old to understand that there are boundaries and those are okay.
Yeah.
But maybe that she would be willing to let her sister come in and watch and explain and, because her little sister loves everything that Charlie does and copies everything. And Charlie was like, of course, Mommy, of course.
Yeah.
So it's so cute. So now we've started that routine that you recommended every morning. We get out of the sleep sack, we go to the potty. Sometimes she goes pee-pee, sometimes she doesn't.
Awesome. Okay.
I those are the wins, we're celebrating.
Absolutely.
And she's been able to watch her big sister use the potty every morning, because Charlie has the same routine. So that's been really great. And then I always bring her in with me because I just want her to see me go pee-pee and potty and, and poop. And watch.
It's all about normalizing it. Like, we just want it to be normal,
We all do.
Exactly. Right.
I mean, even like having kids, like, I think this is a whole other conversation, but like pooping after having a C-section and having children.
Oh my God, I know.
Really difficult. Yeah. My husband, my God, he's like, why are we?
Is this about to become a different type
Maybe
of podcast?
No, but he used to make fun of me and tease me. And he'd be like, what are you doing in there? And I'm like, babe, like after 2 kids, it takes me a bit. Like I have to prop my feet up. I have to relax. And he's like, oh, I thought you were just like on your phone trying to take a minute. And I'm like, yeah, kind of too. It's just normalizing these very, typical needs are important. And I think we all do it. Why are we not more open?
Exactly. Yeah. And you come across the kids who don't even know what's happening with their body. You know what I mean? Like, they poop in their diaper, they never see it. Like, they never even know that poop exists necessarily. So it's about helping them make that connection too and getting them to understand, because the unknown can be a little scary sometimes. So even just talking about it, reading books about it, showing them pictures, modeling the behavior, role play with toys and dolls, those kinds of things are all really great low pressure ways to introduce the concept, so that way it doesn't seem so huge and scary when they do actually get started with it.
Yeah. So before we do start to wrap up, I did want to talk a little bit about our incredible.
Don't say too much.
Okay. Should I be like teasing it? Okay.
Yeah.
So Allison and I and Taryn and the Extra Lucky ELM, we are partnering on a very exciting, what should I say? Project. That will be out by the end of this year.
This year.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not before, honestly. We're like a dream team, all of us together.
Yeah, we're on a roll.
So we will be
taking new meetings.
I know, right?
Yeah, we're very excited. It's for the community, and I'm guessing you can guess that it's about potty training.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Putting 2 and 2 together.
Yes.
It's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. So I'm glad that we were able to, like I said before, like the stars all just seem to align for this. And I'm so excited because I think it's going to help a lot of people. So
me too. We do too.
So stay in touch with all of us.
Yeah.
Allison, tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure. So socials are at Potty Training Consultant, all one word. And my website is pottytrainingconsultant.com. You can find all my courses there. Sign up for a consult there, and my blog is there if you want to read up on some free resources and stuff too. So those are the best places to find me.
Did you want to maybe add a little code for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do ELM 10 for 10% off any online course.
Ooh, awesome. I love that. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. And then we also always end our podcast with our signature question, which is,
what makes you extra lucky?
Gosh, well, in the literal sense of extra lucky is my daughter, Layla. And so she was diagnosed 2 years ago with type 1 diabetes. And that's what's brought me into the extra lucky community. And we have our daily challenges. It's an ongoing process. It's a disease that there's no cure for yet. Hopefully, maybe within her lifetime there will be. So it's something that, it affects our lives every single day. And, but since then has just made me, I feel like, appreciate life even more, appreciate motherhood even more. When she was first diagnosed and I was kind of in a pretty dark space, another mom who had a daughter with type 1 diabetes reached out to me, and she was like, God chose you to be her mom for a reason. And that really hit me right here. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, we got this. And, and it's just, it feels like my calling almost in a way to have to walk this path. And I can already tell that she's going to do such big things because she's all about teaching people about what diabetes is. And people are like, what's that thing on your arm? And she's like, oh, this is my Omnipod and it gives me insulin. And,
it's already a self-advocate.
Exactly. She's already an advocate. She's 7 now. She's already able to know what all the beeps on her phone mean and all that kind of stuff. And, I think it's just made us all stronger as a family as a whole. And, I feel like everything happens for a reason, so.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Allison, for joining us. Thank you to everybody who listened. If you liked this episode, if it resonated with you, please share it with a friend.
Yes.
It helps us share this extra lucky messaging and extra lucky life. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We love you, Allison.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.